Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtotara Shata Shishimad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Samstapak Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So this morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, in the matter of the glories of devotional service, text 42. Mad-bhayād vāti vāto ayam sūryas tapati mad-bhayāt varṣatīndro dahati agnir mṛtyuś carati mad-bhayāt mad-bhayād vāti vāto ayam sūryas tapati mad-bhayāt varṣatīndro dahati agnir mṛtyuś carati mad-bhayāt mad-bhayād vāti vāto ayam sūryas tapati mad-bhayāt varṣatīndro dahati agnir mṛtyuś carati mad-bhayāt mad-bhayād vāti vāto ayam sūryas tapati mad-bhayāt varṣatīndro dahati agnir mṛtyuś carati mad-bhayāt Ladies, mad-bhayād vāti vāto ayam tapati mad-bhayāt varṣatīndro dahati agnir mṛtyuś carati mad-bhayāt vāti vāto ayam mad-bhayāt, out of fear of me, vāti, blows, vātaḥ, wind, ayam, this, sūryaḥ, the sun, tapati, shines, mad-bhayāt, out of fear of me, varṣati, showers rain, indraḥ, Indra, dahati, burns, agniḥ, fire, mṛtyuḥ, death. Carati, goes. mad-bhayād, out of fear of me. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. It is because of my supremacy that the wind blows out of fear of me. The sun shines out of fear of me, and the Lord of the clouds, Indra, sends forth showers out of fear of me. Fire burns out of fear of me, and death goes about taking its toll out of fear of me. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that the natural laws being enacted are correct in all activities because of His superintendence. No one should think that nature is working automatically without superintendence. The Vedic literature says that the clouds are controlled by the demigod Indra, heat is distributed by the sun god, the soothing moonlight is distributed by Chandra, and the air is blowing under the arrangement of the demigod Vayu. But above all these demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the chief living entity, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. The demigods are also ordinary living entities, but due to their faithfulness, their devotional service attitude, they have been promoted to such posts. These different demigods or directors such as Chandra, Varuna and Vayu are called Adhikari Devata. The demigods are departmental heads. The government of the Supreme Lord consists not only of one planet or two or three. There are millions of planets and millions of universes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has a huge government and He requires assistance. The demigods are considered His bodily limbs. These are the descriptions of Vedic literature. Under these circumstances, the sun god, the moon god, the fire god, and the air god are working under the direction of the Supreme Lord. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam. The natural laws are being conducted under His superintendence. Because He is in the background, everything is being performed punctually and regularly. One who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely protected from all other influences. He no longer serves or is obliged to serve anyone else. Of course, he is not disobedient to anyone, but his full power of thought is absorbed in the service of the Lord. The statements by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kapila that under His direction the air is blowing, the fire is burning, and the sun is giving heat are not sentimental. The impersonalist may say that the Bhagavatam devotees create and imagine someone as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and assign qualifications to him. But actually it is neither imagination nor an imposition of artificial power in the name of Godhead. In the Vedas it is said, Bishas mad-vātaḥ pavate bishoditi sūryaḥ. By fear of the Supreme Lord, the wind god and the sun god are acting. Bishasmad agnischendrascha mṛtyur dhavati panchamaha. Agni, Indra and mṛtyuḥ are also acting under his direction. These are the statements of the Vedas. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Canto 3, Chapter 25 in the matter of the glories of devotional service, text 42. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Caitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swaminiti Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradaine Gaura Katha Dhamadaya Nagaragramatharine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Gopi Paranadanadase Tinamine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminit Itinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharine Vancha Kalpattarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkripatamaham bande Shri Guru Dinatharinam yatkripatamaham bande Paramananda Madhavam Shri Caitanya Ishwaram. Katanchana smrite yasmin dushkaram sukaram bhavet vismrite viparitam syat Shri Caitanyam namamitam. So in this section of this chapter, where Kapila Muni is giving instructions, the previous verse yesterday, we see how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila, says the terrible fear of birth and death can never be forsaken by anyone who resorts to any shelter other than myself. For I am the Almighty Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original source of all creation, and also the Supreme Soul of all souls. So, here the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila, in the previous verse and today's verse, is speaking of the necessity of taking exclusive shelter of Him. Because he says that in the previous verse, I am the Almighty Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original source of all creation, and also the Supreme Soul of all souls. And in this verse today, he says that it is because of His supremacy that the wind blows out of fear of Him, the sun shines out of fear of me, and the Lord of the clouds, Indra, sends forth showers out of fear of me, fire burns out of fear of me, and death goes about taking its toll out of fear of me. So, Kapila Muni, as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, establishes his position of supremacy, that everything that we see is completely dependent upon Him. Everything we see as in both material nature and the spirit soul, although we don't see the spirit soul, but we can perceive the spirit soul by its actions. So that's on our individual level. And then he also speaks about the controllers of the universe, or controllers of different aspects of the universe. And he says they are all working under his direction. Now, one thing that's important for us to understand is that, yes, we don't take shelter of these demigods. But what we need to understand is that these demigods are great devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In fact, they are so great that the Lord has entrusted them with important responsibilities of governing this universe. So, they are not ordinary living entities. They are extraordinary living entities. They are great devotees of the Lord. So, why does it say that we should take exclusive shelter of Krishna? Because they are great devotees, right? So, why can't we take shelter of them? The point being that every great devotee of the Lord is not necessarily a pure devotee of the Lord. Pure devotees are automatically great devotees. But all great devotees do not necessarily have to be pure devotees. So these great devotees have been given these responsibilities in this material world because of their being great devotees, and also because of their having a certain desire to function in this material world. So, the Lord places them in these positions. So we should be first of all conscious that in comparison to the demigods, we are nowhere. We cannot even converse with the Supreme Lord. But here the Supreme Lord has appointed these personalities to maintain the universe. So a devotee should take a very humble position, that we don't claim to be greater than demigods. We don't claim to be greater than anybody, in fact. So our position is that we are insignificant living beings, but somehow by the mercy of the pure devotees, we have been engaged in the process of pure devotional service. Therefore, we are more fortunate. Rather, we are the most fortunate. Most fortunate does not mean greater. We are most fortunate, but we remain in the position of being greatly fortunate when we always consider ourselves to be lower than the straw in the street. So only when we consider that ourselves like that, then we continue to be greatly fortunate or most fortunate. So it is not that, oh, we have taken to the process of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yes, we are most fortunate. That's correct. But to maintain that situation of being most fortunate, one has to have the proper attitude. Therefore, in the preface to the Nectar of Instruction, which Srila Prabhupada says is the first book of instruction for the neophyte devotees, Srila Prabhupada explains there that advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower, attitude of the devotee. So, a devotee, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches, considers themselves insignificant, lower than the straw in the street. In India, sometimes you find that it's less common these days, but it was more common in the earlier days, that some lorry would be passing by, and a cyclist, while cycling, instead of cycling, he would hold on to the lorry. So he would go at great speed. Of course, it's very risky. If the lorry were to break, then he would crash. I'm using that analogy to bring up this point that ordinarily we don't have the ability to go back to Godhead in one lifetime, or it takes millions of lifetimes. But by the association, by the mercy of a pure devotee, then we become most fortunate. So it is like that cyclist holding on to a big truck, Of course, the truck of the pure devotees don't crash. So, but yes, we can crash by our own inattentiveness or by our improper attitude. But we are being given this great fortune, So we should not think that we are superior to anyone, let alone human beings. We are not meant to consider that we are superior even to the other living entities. So we respect all living entities. That is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Panditaha Samadarshana. So the Pandita does not have the attitude that I am superior to the animals or even to the ants. Nothing. He considers himself a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this attitude is what keeps us fortunate. And when we say that we take exclusive shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the taking shelter of exclusive shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is done because of proper knowledge. It's done because of proper knowledge. It is not done due to a sense of, if I take shelter of Krishna, I will get more than what I can get from the demigods. So there is a certain incorrect mentality there. So there it is like Krishna is one among a group of people who can give more good fortune, more benefits than the others, So sometimes in India, sometimes you find that people, when you explain the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, explain the Bhagavatam, they are a little bit worried, that if I take shelter of Krishna, what if the other demigods get upset with me? And what if they punish me? So they have all these worries. So here, when it speaks about taking exclusive shelter of Krishna, it is not among taking shelter among one person, among a group of equals, or among a group of people who is one person little bit more superior. That is not what we are talking about. That is not what Bhagavad Gita is talking about, and that is neither what Bhagavatam is talking about. What Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is talking about is Krishna is the cause of all causes. So this is our definition of God. In the introduction to the Bhagavatam, in the preface to the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes that this Bhagavata Purana speaks about the absolute truth, which is the cause of all causes. So, for example, in different traditions of the world, religious traditions, you have God and you have a competitor of God. So try to follow God, be careful of his competitor. He will mislead you. Of course, that's true in one sense, that Mahamaya is not a competitor of God, but it's an energy of the Lord who can mislead the living entities. So there's a certain truth in that in the conception, but although the details may vary, not as a competitor. But what Bhagavatam explains to us, what Bhagavad Gita explains to us, is that everything in this world, or everything that exists, derives its power from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, including us. Now I'm speaking. Tomorrow or very next moment, if Krishna decides to withdraw my power of speaking, finished. I cannot speak anymore. So, we are using the energy of the Lord in the service of the Lord. That's what it means. So, nothing is ours. Even the body is not ours. Nothing is ours. So, what is it that is exclusively ours? Free will, independence. That's all. Apart from that, everything is dependent on the Lord. Free will is not dependent on the Lord. But free will, the free will causes a situation of dependence. See, the nature of the living entity is to be dependent. So if we use the free will properly, then we become dependent on the Supreme Lord. If we use the free will improperly, then we become dependent on material nature. The nature of the soul is to be dependent. But this free will by itself is not dependent. Free will is something that we can exercise. And by exercise of that free will, then we become dependent either on Krishna or dependent on material nature. Of course, we could say everything comes from Krishna. We're also parts and parcels. So you could say, in that sense, it comes from Krishna. But it is something which we can fully exercise, in the sense that there is no sense of dependency there. It is entirely up to us. That how but the moment we exercise it, in fact, there is no moment when they were not exercising it. Either we are in Maya or we are in Krishna. So, the point being that everything in this material world is coming from the Supreme Lord. And what to speak of material world, even the living entities are coming from the Supreme Lord. So, this is our understanding that He is the cause of all our causes, including the cause of our free will. So, He is the cause of all causes. This is our understanding. So, because He is the cause of all causes, everything needs to be connected to Him and offered to Him. So, when we go to the Ganges, we take a bath, as Prabhupada says, then we offer the Ganges water into Ganges. So, this is the natural state of a living being. A living being is constantly, or rather is constantly linked to the Supreme Lord in service. So that service is the natural attitude of the living entity. So when it says here that to take exclusive shelter of Krishna, it means to take shelter with that supreme, with that proper knowledge, Rajavidya, that He is the cause of all causes. It is not with the knowledge that He is more a cause than the others, or He is more important than the others. It is not in that sense. It is because He is the source of everything. And He is just like Bhagavatam gives the example, He is like the root of the tree. If you water the root, everything gets, all the branches, the leaves, the twigs, everything gets nourished. And similarly, the food, Srila Prabhupada explains that food is to be fed to the stomach. So Prabhupada explains that stomach is the central factor of the body's organization. Very interesting expression he uses. And so, just like by focusing on feeding the stomach, all parts of the body are taken care of very nicely. So this is our philosophy. So therefore, after Krishna explains all the realities all the fundamentals of reality to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, his final instruction is Sarva Dharman Pariteja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. That you don't have to execute any other duty thinking there is something independent of him. But rather just surrender unto me. Just become my devotee, surrender unto me. So that is the perfection of life. So, our acharyas have explained that Krishna consciousness is a science. Prabhupada repeatedly said this. Krishna consciousness is a science. So, what does surrender unto me mean? What does surrender unto me mean? So, it has been very well defined. What is surrender? So, we can examine in our own lives whether we are surrendered or not surrendered, or to the extent to which we are surrendered, rather. Because anyone who has taken to the process of pure devotional service is meant to have surrendered to a certain extent. So, to what extent we can see? So, what are the 6 items of surrender? The 6 items of surrender are: 1. Accept things favorable to the service of the Lord. We are supposed to accept whatever is favorable to the service of the Lord. Reject things unfavorable to the service of the Lord. Have no interest separate from the Lord's interest. Which means that we don't have any plan. That's the meaning. We don't have any plan. We don't make any plans. Just like Prabhupada, when he went to the shores of America, what was his idea? What was his thought? A pure devotee always thinks that you have brought me to the shores of America. Now, make me dance. I'm a puppet in your hands. Please make me dance as you wish. So this is the meaning of saying, no interest separate from the interests of the Lord. Which means that for everybody in this material world, the moment they surrender unto Krishna, Krishna has a plan. So all that we have to do to pray to Krishna is make us dance according to your plan. We have abandoned the plan making process. We have surrendered. Surrender means no interest separate from the interest of the Lord. So whichever way the Lord wants us to dance, we are willing to dance. And that is the greatest dance. We may think, okay, I have this plan, I have that plan, and let me do this and do that and all those things. All those are very insignificant compared to the Lord's plan for us, which will make both the Lord and us supremely happy. Every other plan is insignificant compared to, because with our minds, Prabhupada's father used to say, if Krishna wants to give with his 10 hands, with your 2 hands, how much can you take? And Krishna wants to take away with his 10 hands, with your 2 hands, how much can you protest? So Krishna's plans are infinitely more superior, perfect, wholesome, whatever, you can use every possible adjective, than our own plans, which are very, very insignificant. We are like the frogs in the well. We don't even have proper ability to think how we should plan. So the Lord, even that's what he says in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna also. What does he say? I have already got a plan. These people are all killed. No, you just fight. So we are supposed to simply carry out our duties. So whatever is our training, we are supposed to engage in the service of the Lord. That's all. But the plan making process is done by the Lord. So that means, not have separate, have no interest separate from the interest of the Lord, which means the plan making is done by the Supreme Lord. Then firmly believe in the Lord's protection. One should firmly believe that the Lord will protect me. Not that one thinks, oh no, this looks like a very dangerous situation. Maybe Krishna forgot, so I have to take some steps. So no, we should firmly believe in the Lord's protection. Then be exclusively dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Exclusively dependent on the mercy of the Lord, which means we know that our process of chanting, we can chant attentively, we can do all kinds of things, but the Lord has to bestow his benediction upon us. So therefore we sing every day. How does the Lord bestow his benediction upon us? Bestow his mercy upon us. Yasya prasadhat bhagavad prasado yasya prasadhan nagute kutopi dhyayan stuvam tasya yashastri sandhyam vande guru shri charanarvindam. So the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness know very clearly, without pleasing Srila Prabhupada, we are nowhere. So by pleasing Srila Prabhupada, and by pleasing Srila Prabhupada means he has given us so many instructions: accept a guru, work in the society of devotees. There are so many things. By doing all these things, one pleases Srila Prabhupada, which attracts the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So one should be exclusively dependent on that mercy. There is no other process which can not have faith in something else also. I have faith in the Lord, but I also have faith in this, something else. No. Exclusively dependent on the mercy of the Lord. And then always feel oneself meek and humble, which I just spoke about a little earlier, that one should always think of oneself as insignificant. Once Prabhupada was talking to a group of disciples, and he was speaking about one of his disciples. He said that there is this universe, and he was explaining the vastness of the universe, so many planetary systems. Then here you have Bharata Varsha. Then you have they finally come down to some city, and then some insignificant living entity like us, and we think we are great. So if we read the Upanishad, if we read the Bhagavatam, then we understand the expanse of this material, this universe. Forget about all other universe. This is the smallest universe. It's unbelievably large. With so many living entities. So what is our significance? What is our significance? Very insignificant. So we are meant to remain in that state that we are not very great. We are nobody, in fact. Rather, we have been made greatly fortunate due to the process of devotional service which has been given to us by the pure devotees. For us it is His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. So, it is by virtue of these pure devotees that we are able to understand what Krishna is. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. So, this takes many births. But the pure devotees can give it instantly. That is their greatness, that by even a lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. So those of us who happen to take birth in the Kali Yuga right after right after Swayam Krishna's appearance and after Lord Chaitanya's appearance are extremely fortunate that we are instantly getting this. It's not that we had some great qualification. Of course, Prabhupada did say that some devotees have done things in their past lives also, but in general, when in the Kumbh Mela, when Prabhupada is asked this question, that usually you have to do many devotional activities in past lives to come to the stage, and how is it that we have got this fortune? So Srila Prabhupada replied that I have made the good fortune. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, that's why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that there has never been and there will never be such great personalities as the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they have given us, which is something which is very rare, and without consideration of any past life or qualifications or whatever. We just happen to get it by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers. So we should take to this process very seriously. I just wanted to make one point from the next verse, which is, I won't speak on the verse in general, but one particular sentence there is very important. He says, Prabhupada writes there that the next verse, purport, if there is a lack of knowledge and renunciation, it is to be understood that one is not in full devotional service. And earlier he says, even if a person is completely illiterate, the transcendental knowledge of the scriptures is revealed unto him simply because of his engagement in devotional service. So sometimes we see, okay, our process is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. We don't have to bother so much about acquiring knowledge. So yes, we don't have to bother about acquiring knowledge, but whatever is given, we need to accept it. So we have been given knowledge. So it is our duty to accept the knowledge we have been given. So you have Bhagavad Gita, you have Bhagavatam, you have this knowledge which is given to us. So if someone is an illiterate, then what to do? Then Prabhupada says, okay, they can still practice devotional service. He says elsewhere also that they can hear. It is not everybody has got this ear, so they can hear through the ear. So that nobody is an exception. And he says it very clearly here that if there is lack of knowledge and renunciation, it is to be understood that one is not in full devotional service. So this conception, one can be very simple, one need not know anything, one will go back to Godhead. It's completely rejected by Srila Prabhupada and the acharyas. There's no such thing as an ignorant person going back to Godhead. Those who go back to Godhead are naturally full of knowledge, because this knowledge comes from the Chit Shakti of the Lord. So when one practices the process of devotional service, that knowledge awakens if one is illiterate by hearing at least. But for others, those of us, we don't have an excuse. We have the books, and we are meant to associate with the books regularly. In fact, among the top 5 processes of devotional service, if you look at what Rupa Goswami says, there are 5 top elements. So among which is Harinam, chanting Harinam. We know chanting is very, very important. Why? Because the holy name is the incarnation of the Lord for this age. So there's a Lord. Then he speaks about Shraddhaya Sri Murti Seva, which we do. Prabhupada established deity worship. Again, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavata Shravana. Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. It's Krishna himself. Again, so it's the incarnation of Krishna after he went back to his abode. And then you have Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha. So only in the association of devotees, these processes are fruitful. And one performs them in a holy place. Holy place does not necessarily mean that it has to be Mayapur Vrindavan. Yes, that is a standard reference. But it could also mean a place where devotional service to the Lord is fully practiced. Like every center of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Srila Prabhupada explained, is non-different from Vrindavan. So, this process of hearing Bhagavatam that we do every day is very, very important. It is not, okay, we know Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama iva kevalam, kalau nasti eva gatiranyata. If we just say that is enough, yes, that is enough. But are we on that platform to practice the names? Like Prabhupada would say, that we are not qualified to sit like Haridas Thakur and chant the holy names throughout the day. We are not qualified because we will think of so many other things. Therefore, there are 5 top elements which are given. So we need to take shelter of all the 5 top elements. We cannot just say, okay, chanting the holy name, forget everything. Then where is the knowledge coming? Like as Prabhupada says here, no? If there is lack of knowledge and renunciation, it is you understood that one is not full in devotional service. So these top 5 elements of devotional service are all important. Not one of them can be neglected. All of them have to be done. Then we can hope to go back to Godhead at the end of this lifetime. In fact, one can become perfect even within this lifetime. So our acharyas have placed great emphasis on what we are doing right now, which is, this is not just some question, okay, I come and attend the Bhagavatam class, I got some knowledge. No. The very act of hearing Bhagavatam is an act of purification. It draws us closer to Krishna. It's drawing us closer and closer and closer to Krishna. So Sanatana Goswami, in his prayers to Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, Madeka bandhu mat sangin, mad guru mad mahadana, man nishtaraka mad vāgyā, mad ananda namostute. Madeka bandhu. Madeka bandhu means my only friend. Madeka bandhu mat sangin, my constant companion. Madeka bandhu mat sangin, mad guru, my spiritual master. Mad mahadana, my great wealth. Man nishtaraka mad bhagya, my great fortune. Mad anandas namostute, my source of ecstasy. So this is the Bhagavatam. It's not like some book is there, you'll get some information on bhakti. But look at how Sanatan Goswami glorifies the Bhagavatam. So, on that note, because this Bhagavatam today has taught us that Krishna is the source of everything. He is the cause of all causes. He is the superintendent of everything, superintendent of material nature, and everything moves by His will. And those were the last words, or among the last words that Srila Prabhupada spoke while on this planet. Everything, every moment in this universe is moving and acting by the supreme desire of Krishna. This consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. Okay, so then I would like to stop there for today. If there are any, yes, comments, questions, reflections.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you. Prabhu, it's understandable, at least theoretically, how to practice the first two limbs of Sharanagati, Anukulyasya Sankalpah and Pratikulyasya Varjuna. But for me, how to practice the rest limbs, it's not very clear, especially about how to feel oneself meek and humble. How it's if I'm not meek and humble, how will I practice it? This is my question.
Once Srila Prabhupada is asked this question that by a disciple, that I don't feel like offering obeisances. So Prabhupada said, you offer it anyway, and by offering you develop it. So when we say meek and humble, there are many things in devotional service which can make us meek and humble. You know, for example, you're here in the Bhagavatam class. What are you doing? You're trying to hear, right? So you're subordinating yourself to a speaker. It's not that everybody is here in the Bhagavatam class. Some people don't bother about it. But you're subordinating yourself to a speaker and sitting in the class. So like that, there are many things in devotional service and in every day that we do where we can subordinate ourselves. You know, like for example, when you come to the kirtan, we are following the kirtan leader. So we are subordinating ourselves. So like that, by this process of practicing subordination, one remains humble. If one thinks, oh no, I don't need to come to the temple, oh, the kirtan is going on, you know, so I can come anytime, I have a relationship with the Lord. No, we have to follow the process that Srila Prabhupada has given, which many of which involve subordination. You know, so much of it involves subordination. And if one feels there is no opportunity, one can voluntarily take up some service. You know, so one thing that Prabhupada explains, the feature of the spiritual world is one appreciates other devotees greater than oneself. You know, so in this world, while we are living, we can always see things that we really desire in devotional service. You know, that how I wish that I could distribute books very nicely, how I wish that I could perform deity worship so nicely, how I wish I could do this, I could do that. We may have certain desires in devotional service. So when one can see somebody who is very expert in that, then one can try to go and serve them and learn from them. That creates subordination. In the 15th chapter of the 7th canto, there are instructions for different problems. So the solution for lamentation, it says read Shastra. The solution for pride, it says serve the great devotees. So this process of identifying those with superior qualities does not mean that they have to be perfect in everything else. They may be perfect, not perfect, they may be imperfect, they may be less than ideal also, it doesn't matter. But as long as there is something in them which is superior than what we have, it is always beneficial to learn that or to acquire that, you know. So in that way, because Krishna consciousness is unlimited, So we may find, okay, today we saw one book distributor, let me go, I mean, it's very nice, let me associate and get some. Tomorrow you'll find another book distributor who's also got very extra. So Krishna consciousness is an unlimited thing. It's not that we find somebody who is the summum bonum of everything. It's not necessarily true. It doesn't happen like that. There are always varieties and levels and of devotional service. So it is always something which you can constantly look forward to, that there will always be superior Vaishnavas than us. Let us at least learn from them. Of course, then one may think, what about equals, what about juniors and things like that. But at least let us try one thing. And by that, slowly we will learn that we are not great. And eventually we will come to the platform of understanding everybody is an eternal associate of the Lord. Everybody, So, and Krishna has a unique relationship with every soul, which nobody else can offer that kind of pleasure which you can give to the Lord. I cannot offer that pleasure. Only you can offer that kind of pleasure to the Lord. So everybody is unique. In this world, everybody is trying to be unique, but you don't have to try. You're already unique. You're already perfect. Just that you don't realize it. So the whole process of bhakti that we are performing is to be situated in our original situation. We're already unique. You're already special. And what kind of pleasure that you can give, nobody else can give, whatever may be the relationship. So if we just focus on that aspect, that it is not that, so every living entity, forget about us, every living entity. So eventually we'll come to that platform. That this pleasure that this jiva can give to Krishna, I cannot give. So let me serve that jiva. Finish. Even if I want, I cannot give, because that jiva by its unique nature is the only person capable of giving that pleasure to Krishna. Therefore, because he's pleasing my Lord, let me try to please him. So eventually we'll come to the platform. At least at this stage, we can look at those who are superiors to us, and then at least try to subordinate ourselves to them.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the wonderful class, Acintya Caitanya Prabhu. I'm still trying to formulate my question, but I'll try. So when you're mentioning about the demigods and also the process of surrender, I was reminded of the pastime where Prithu Maharaj is doing the 100 horse sacrifices, and then it seems that Indra becomes a bit uneasy because he might do something or take over his post or something like that. So then he tries to intervene, and Prabhupada gives some purport. I don't exactly remember, but it's like they will try to, if someone is doing some level of austerity to make advancement, sometimes the demigods will try to intervene, if I'm remembering correctly. So I just wanted to understand that, because you were mentioning how the demigods are very great and devotees of the Lord. But sometimes I wonder, this intervene is, we understand it's Maya,
That's
but
why
also
That's why I said they are not considered as pure devotees. They're great devotees because they're attached to that position. They're attached to that position. So they don't want it to be dislodged. What to speak of the demigods? You have lived in the international society for so many years. So you can see those who are not advanced, they're very attached to their positions. They get very insecure when some devotee is doing very nicely or something. They do all kinds of things, right? So, are they pure devotees? Definitely not. Are they great devotees? Yes, because they're practicing at least. So pure devotional service is something else. So those who are affected by all these things, they may be in the pure devotional line, but they are not necessarily very advanced. They are not even in pure devotional line for the demigods. So this tendency to hold on to the position or some material consideration is natural for the jiva. That's why pure devotional service is extraordinary. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam. You're free from all designation. One has to come to that stage. One has to be focused to come to that stage. We may recognize some anartha, but we should not succumb to that anartha. We should think, okay, I've got this weakness. I need to overcome this.
Disturb you.
Okay.
Then how you deal with that? Because you're trying to be sincere.
Those who are trying to disturb you, how do you deal with them?
It comes in different ways. Through your mind, through another person. Because one time you mentioned sometimes you may have a desire to do something which may not be 100% Krishna conscious. Sometimes you may, this is as far as I remember you answering the question, you may be doing it, but you understand it's not the best thing to be doing.
Yes.
So, but that's not always the right decision to make. You get what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah, see, there are sometimes situations where a devotee knows what is the right thing to do, but one is not able to do the right thing due to weakness, you know. So therefore, but one knows that this is not the right thing to do, but I have got this weakness, but one should not give up the process of devotional service. So Krishna likes that this person is sincere. He knows that this is not the right thing, but he is not able to overcome it. So Krishna will eventually give the strength. When he could give it instantly also, but when he will give, he'll decide. But he will test the sincerity. Okay. But if we try to philosophize it, you know, okay, I have this weakness. Everybody is like this. So what is the big deal? No. Even 1% material desire is not acceptable. If we have that attitude, then we make proper advancement. If we think everybody is like this, we are ultimately in the material world, what do you expect? If we have this kind of an attitude, this is not in line with pure devotional service. Pure devotional service means we don't want even 1% of material desire. We may have it. So we should feel, okay, I have this desire now, but I'm not going to overcome it. So one still takes shelter of Krishna and goes on practicing. You know, that Krishna appreciates. But not, I mean, if you say, oh, what to do if we're in the material world, yes, all of us have material desires. I mean, that's part of life. We cannot have that attitude. Yes, it is part of our material life, but you don't want it to be part of it. We don't want it to be part. So then we have that attitude, then Krishna purifies us. That's why attitude is very, very important. Krishna. Yes, Maj. Oh, it's already 9 o'clock. Okay. Okay, anyway, let her ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, you mentioned about not making plans.
Yes.
But how does that goes with spiritual desires? We might have spiritual plans also, but I did not understood like how these two things go together.
You may have a desire, like for example, you may have a desire, I want to worship the deity. It's good to have spiritual desires. But Krishna is the one who arranges for it. You know, so Krishna knows all your desires, so he knows how to arrange for it also. Because ultimately we don't know what is the best situation for us to be in and what is the best situation that will please the Lord also. Therefore we live in the society of devotees, or we take association with the society of devotees. Because by their association we are situated in the right position. Of course you could say that I mean, different devotees have this experience that they were in a society of devotees, but they were not in a very conducive situation and things like that. Yes, but the point being that, okay, sometimes you may have situations like that. Devotees, due to their anarthas or imperfections, may not give you the best advice or things like that. But if we see the process of, there is something called general instruction, there is something called specific instructions. Srila Prabhupada has given general instructions which for everybody, which is to chant the holy names and read Bhagavatam, five process of devotional service. So, 5 topmost. So, if one takes shelter of those general instructions, then Krishna will arrange for you to also get specific instructions appropriately. One cannot just, I mean, what do you say, I mean, just become hopeless and get very confused. No, one should have firm faith in the primary instruction, in this general instruction which Prabhupada has given us. And if we just stick with that, then Krishna makes all the arrangements. Krishna makes all the arrangements. Like Prabhupada himself, you look at his life, you never see him making a plan. I mean, you read the Leela in and out, you'll never find him making any plan. Never. He never, before going from India, he doesn't plan. I will go and meet the Prime Minister, achieve nothing. He just gets onto the boat. When he goes to the shares, he sees, what is this place? Then wherever he's getting the a place of residence, he stays there. Then he tries within that context, whatever he can do, he tries. He takes everything as the arrangement of the Lord. Then, then he gets that 22nd Avenue. Then some boys start coming. So Prabhupada is never having a specific, detailed, strategic plan. You know, first the professors should come. If the professors understand, the students will understand. Then the society, he never has all these things. But he knows everybody is important. We need to preach to everybody. He knows that. But he accepts whatever he gets. Throughout, you can see how England, he established Krishna consciousness. Everywhere. There is no plan that Prabhupada ever made. But rather, whatever Krishna, the way he took him, he just went along with it. Finished. So that is a perfect example.
Thank you so much.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.